Hello, welcome. So, if you've ever thought, gee, I just wish I had more confidence, let me be honest, you don't have a confidence problem. You have a delivery problem. You have a delivery problem because if people aren't taking you seriously, this could be why. So, a lot of professionals, a lot of people that I work with who know their stuff, they're experts, they're smart, they're clever, but unfortunately, when speaking, they just don't sound like it. That delivery doesn't come through in the way they speak. That is what we're talking about today. That is what we're talking about today. And I'm just checking to see. This is a live session, so anyone is welcome to join in. I noticed some reflection on my glass, some filter in the back. I'm usually not a filter fan, but trying something new today. If you're listening live, awesome. If you're here for the replay, also great. This is meant to be interactive. So this is our weekly school open office hour. So I'm here for your questions to engage, interact any way we can. Now, because this is new, I'm preparing some things to have it on recording so that it's of more value for you and you can come back and watch it. That's, yeah, the same if people are here or not, right? So let's start with a question. You're here, you're obviously interested in this topic and you want to know more about it. And our theme for today is why you don't sound confident, even if you are, even if you feel confident, but somehow there's a disconnect and other people just aren't getting it. Or maybe you don't come across as confident because your body has a mind of its own and is shaking or sweating or something I've experienced personally. I'm turning beet red and flushed, even though I feel prepared, confident, calm, cool, collected. I did all the reps, everything, but these are things that tell people we're not confident. And so we're going to talk about that today, how to manage it, how to deal with it, how to get our message, our expertise, our experience, and our words all aligned so that it's giving one core message and then people lean in to hear more. That's our goal for today. We're going to talk about it. Now, let me know either here in a comment, in a post, send me a private message, doesn't matter how you let me know. But let's start the conversation. Where do you feel your confidence or this misalignment in messaging, where do you feel it breaks down? At the start, in the middle, at the end? Or wait, I'm mirrored here today, aren't I? Start, middle, end. Start, middle, end. Where do you feel it break down most? Now, I was working last month with a client and she found that she started well. She could start well, but then things kind of fell apart after that. I had a client last year where the starting was the hard part. She knew once she was out on stage, once the flow was going, everything was going to be fine. But it was those first steps, those first words, that initial impulse to start was where she needed to focus. But what about you? Let me know. I'd love to talk about it because how to approach each of those is similar but slightly different. And you know that right now this community is small, so now is the time to get customization. You get access to me, one-on-one attention, or even one on group attention, but I get to connect with each and every person, hear your story, hear your experience, and respond to that. So now is a great time to plug into that and get some of that benefit. Now, I want to cover 4 specific points here today before we talk about the school platform. That was my goal for today, to introduce the platform, give you an overview of what to expect. But first, I want to talk about this confidence topic, or more importantly, this misalignment topic, this gap between who you are, what you know, what your experience is, your expertise, and the message other people are getting, what they think, how they perceive you. I want to talk about this topic today. And the first point that I see quite often, because this is something it shows up a lot with my clients, is that, oh, one second. Yes. So one thing I know, people rush. They rush and they just slur all the words together and they rush to get through it and just get the words out and just get it done. Even when it matters most. Actually, especially when it matters most, because there's adrenaline. They are nervous. They know it matters and they just want to get it out, or even want to get as much out as possible in a short amount of time. This can be in a meeting, in a job interview, in a negotiation, and that just rushing seems like a good idea. However, what it translates to is it just washes over people's brains and they can't grab what's important. Where's the essential part? What are you emphasizing? What's the key point? What's your key message? It just becomes a wash. So how can we fix this? How can we fix this and make it easier for people to see, hear, feel your leadership presence, your confidence, your expertise? So one easy fix is intentional pauses. Intentional pauses. Now, I don't want to spend an hour talking about this because I could, but I want to just mention 3 moments where a pause can change the trajectory of an entire conversation. 1, before you could have a pre-pause before you make your key point, before you reveal the key moment, the key issue, the key word. And people, if you just stop right before, they'll lean in and listen. If you stop right before, they'll lean in and listen, wanting to know. So that's a great time to pause to create anticipation. Another great time to pause is just after the post pause, just after you make a key point, key statement, the bold new idea, your thought leadership moment. Pause just after it and let that message sink in. If you're anything like me, we're flooded with information all day, every day. It's overwhelming. And to have a moment of silence to let that information sink in, it's almost, I think about it like a seed. It's like we're fleshing seeds all around, and then you put water and maybe they grow, maybe they don't. But when there's silence, it gives an extra moment for the roots to start to sink into our brains or into your listener's brain and really lets that key moment sink in. This is especially true. This is especially true for emotional responses. For emotional responses, if it's very shocking, if it's very sad, emotional, embarrassing, give a little bit of silence for people to let those roots sink into their brain and trigger memories of their own where they had something similar that allows them to the idea that you have just given to live and breathe and take shape in your listener's mind. That is so wonderful. That is key. So that's a silence needs to be there for that, because if you rush on to the next topic, onto the next fact, on the next detail, the roots are gone. So that is the first point, pauses, intentional pauses. And I would love for you, either listening live or on the replay, go ahead and rate yourself 1 to 10. Give yourself a number from 1 to 10, 1 being or 0 being, I've never done that before in my life. And 10 is like, oh, check that off. I'm the master. I'm going to create a masterclass about it. So give yourself a score from 1 to 10. and write it down. We're going to do a little math today. It's a mini quiz. Point number 2. There's 4 points. Point number 2, what often causes people to sound less confident than they really are, or create that gap between their experience, who they are, and how they're perceived, is when your tone stays flat. Your tone stays flat. Why does it stay flat? Why do you just keep talking in the same tone and give facts and details? Because you think this is what it is. It's facts and details, and it's safe. It's just the facts, ma'am. This is what it is. However, with human brains, we're constantly seeking contrast. Contrast. Where's the difference? What's emphasized? What's not emphasized? What's important? Where should I focus? What's just fluff? This is really how our human brains are designed. And yeah, distraction. There was a contrast, right? Distraction. So the best way to fix this is to create contrast, create emphasis. Decide before you speak. What's the one word you want to emphasize? What's the one word you want to stick in people's brains? Or what's the one sentence? What is your key message? And then use either tone, pace, pauses, as we discussed before, something to create contrast, something to create emphasis, a verbal highlighter. Oh, wait, I actually prepared my highlighter today. So give a verbal highlighter for that. So when your tone stays flat. All right. So let's rate ourselves on this. Point number 2, like, how often does your tone stay flat? If it all the time, give yourself a 0 or a 1. If you never do that, if you're always using contrast and emphasis and creating a rainbow bow of emotions in your speech, then give yourself a 10. So that is your score. That is your second score. So write it down. We're doing math. There are 4 scores. All right. Let's move on to point number 3. Oh, this one this one hits me in my core. This one hits me in my core because when I am not at my best, this is kind of the trap I fall into. So this is personal revelation here. So point number 3 is one thing that demonstrates or creates a wider gap between who you are, your expertise and skills, experience, and how great you are, and how people perceive you. What makes that gap even wider is you over explain. Ouch. Ouch. Why do we do this? We do this when we feel we need to prove ourselves, when we feel we need to justify, when we feel just saying it once isn't enough to convince people. Or maybe we don't know yet how to say it. We haven't learned the tools and techniques that will fit this exact situation. Fit this exact situation. So we throw everything we have at it. We throw the spaghetti and the marinara sauce and the cheese and the kitchen sink and the bread and the pasta. Throw everything you have at it. Why did I say kitchen things? Maybe I'm over-explaining. Right, so you need to prove yourself. So easy fix for that is structure. Structure before speaking. And this is something that I've had many clients just had a huge light bulb go off because often we're afraid of using structures, especially in speech, especially in casual speech, especially in impromptu speech, because it sounds too formulaic. It sounds robotic, right? I don't want to use a structure and sound like everyone else. It doesn't have to be. It's a structure for our thinking, for organizing our thoughts, for organizing the meaning in a way that makes it easier for other people to hear it. in a way that makes it easier for other people to hear it. And that's key. And that is key. So it's not a way to, I remember when I was growing up, we learned the 5 paragraph theme, and it was a way to write an essay. And every single essay sounded the same. Sure, the topic was different, but there was an introduction paragraph, the main topic sentences, then point 1, point 2, point 3, and each one was structured in the same way. Repetitive. It was horrible. So there's like a resistance to using structures, but the structures that we talk about here in the Irresistible Academy are not so formulaic. They're not so formulaic. They're more like structures that Hollywood movies use. And they all are so exciting to see because they're done so differently. And their structures designed so it's easy for the listeners to understand and appreciate and get involved, right? So these are proven structures that help deliver your message with confidence. I'm going to share one today, just one that is especially useful for job interviews. So if any of you are looking for a job or have been in a job interview situation, because that's something I know all of us need to do at some point or another. And there are those questions, those tricky questions. Tell me about a time when you had to fire someone, when you had an argument with your boss, when you made a mistake, right? Or what do they call these? The personal questions, the questions that are often a tripping point for many highly skilled, experienced people who have a lot of technical skills, who went through the whole technical testing for 3 hours, and now they have to answer these wiggly questions. Right? It's so tricky. So this is the perfect time for a structure because you can't prepare these in advance. These questions are designed so you can't prepare them in advance. And so this is a perfect time for a structure that's not formulaic, but organizes your thoughts and makes it easy for your listener to understand your message and the key point, rather than just a barrage of, remember that over explaining when you're saying, yeah, but I had a problem with my boss, but it's because he was this way or she was that way. And then there was this other circumstance and maybe not important right now. And it doesn't answer the question, the real question. The real question in any job interview, a little bit of psychology for you here, is do you have the skills to do the job? And if you did all the tests earlier, yes. And are you a good fit? Do you have the skills and are you a good fit? These are the two questions that both parties need to answer, either me as an interviewer or you as an interviewee, or even if we're a panel. Those are the questions we need to answer. And so the structure I often share with my clients or friends here is the self structure. Now, this is one I developed myself, and because I like words that have meaning and acronyms that have meaning. So self, that's where we talk about the situation, how you evaluated it. So S, situation, E, evaluation, L, leverage. How did I leverage that situation to change it? What was my impact? What was my impulse? What did I do? What did I do in that situation? And F, and this is the key one that most people forget when they're answering those tricky questions. What am I taking forward? What am I taking into the future? Basically, what's the key message here? Am I a good fit? What did I learn? Whether I failed or succeeded in that situation, no matter what the outcome is, if I learned something, if I'm taking something forward, either learning an experience, a deeper understanding, a new technique, whatever it is, I'm taking that forward and I'm offering that in my new situation, in my new company. And that's really the answer to the question, isn't it? Sure, we have to give the context of the situation and how I leveraged it so they understand what happened, whether, I succeeded or failed. and the evaluation, SELF, how I evaluate, how my brain works, how I respond to these kinds of situations. This all answers that question of, am I a good fit? Good. So rate yourself. When you're answering a question, when you're not sure, when you are sure, do you over explain? If yes, give yourself a 0 or a 1. If you're kind of in the middle, go for that 4 or 5 zone. And 10 is, I never do that. I always answer all questions in 3 sentences, finished. Nothing but the facts. So good. Now you have 4 scores. You have 4 scores, 4 numbers, and I'd love for you to add them up and give yourself, tally your score, tally them up into a final score. And I'll give a little, like, do you remember those quizzes that used to be in magazines and you get a little rate in those kids magazines? Okay, I loved the quizzes. And maybe sometimes I would answer the questions differently so I could read the different results. So yeah, tally your score up. If you have 30 to 40 points, that is great. Keep it up. Keep coming back. I'll give you impulses. This is a great space for you to just maintain that high level for you. And if you have 20 to 30 points, you have a strong foundation. This is good. This is really good. You can feel good about that. But a few small changes can really make a huge difference for you. You are just on the cusp of being one of the most powerful communicators in the room. So exciting. And yeah, if you have 10 to 20 points, let's talk. Let's talk about ways that we can start to close that gap for you. We can close that gap because that is a situation, that is a problem that will have an impact on your career, on your job, salary, on your development opportunities. And it's when what people perceive and what you actually are have a huge gap, you're just selling yourself short. And I don't want that for you. I don't want that for you. I have all this I want to give you as a gift. So we're going to work on that together. And if you have under 10 points, join me. Or as they say in Vienna, es gibt Luft nach oben. So there's air above where you can grow and grow and grow. We can get to that 40 points. Hey, let's get to it by the end of the year. Wouldn't that be great? Imagine what an impact improving your communication would have on your life. Because in life, every day we talk, every day there's conversations, every day, and it's often the same conversations over and over. But if you just improve by 1%, there's that compounding impact over time. And that's what can start to really close the gap from who you really are and how you're perceived. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like what people think of you is matters and, all I care about is what other people think. Not the message I'm trying to deliver. The message I'm trying to deliver is to align your words, your voice with your value. I want to align them so you have one core message. Elizabeth, don't hit the mic. Sorry. All right, good. And if that sounds good to you, if you want hands-on help, I'm your person, and there are 2 things you need to do today. 2 things. 1, the Invisible to Irresistible boot camp. I'm going to here it is. I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to tell you about the Invisible to Irresistible boot camp. There it is. So it's inside the Irresistible Academy. Stop being the best kept secret in your industry. We have the 2-week boot camp. It is coming up on April 27th. And I would love you to be there. This is 2 weeks live with me. And this is the first cohort. So you get to co-create this process with me. It's basically custom made for you. Come and join the team. We already have people inside there. I believe there's one founder's spot left open. So I'd love to see you joining us there. And the second thing you need to do today, if you want hands-on help, number one, get in the Invisible to Irresistible boot camp. It's going to be so good. And the second one is keep coming back and visiting the school community. This is the Irresistible Academy for ongoing reps. I'm going to be filling this with content, for example, like these weekly open office hours where you can have access to me. We can talk about your exact situation, your experience, your questions. We can practice things you're working out and role play. Figure out what it is you need to hit that next level. That's what that's about. And I'll also be putting in assets, for example, like this video and things that you can work through on your own. There's also the community growth where you can get to know other people who are working on similar topics. That's what this community is about. And today, what I would like to do is stop sharing. Where am I? There I am. There's always that small delay, isn't there? And the second part of this session, which I wanted to talk about today, is a little bit about what's inside, because this is the inside. And so I want to tell you about the updated dates, the structure, how the boot camp's going to run, how everything works inside of school and this Google Meet. Now, school also has its own internal video platform, which we will try and use later. But for now, I wanted to stick with Google Meet because it's a platform that many know and can access from their phones already. It works. I wanted to go with something familiar because the school platform itself is already unfamiliar for many of my users. So that's the second thing I want to talk about. Some of you have the a bonus offer of a one-to-one meeting with me. I will give you, if you did not receive your link for that, send me a message. Let me know. Each person has their own. So send me a message, let me know, and I'll give you a link for that one-to-one founders session. I want to make sure you have that. And then we'll open it up for anything, questions, issues, anything you want to talk about. But first, let's talk about the updated times and schedule. Let me make sure I have it. Here it is. Okay, so here are the new dates. You can see it starts on Monday, April 27th. The sessions, I should have color coded this. Maybe I will. The sessions, there are 5 sessions. You can see them on the right side, and they are Monday and Friday, week 1, Monday and Friday, week 2, and Saturday on week 2. That's the finale with the hot seats. That's when it's really getting into it, trying out all the things we talked about, everything we learned, and putting it into practice. So you can get real-time feedback. You can find out what works, what doesn't, what sticks, what falls to the floor, and make it practical for you. If you have a specific situation you want to work through on these 2 weeks, or if things pop up as we're going through, that's on you. You get to choose, and we come along for the ride with you. Now, all of the times on this chart are in Central European summertime. So I live in Vienna, and so these are Vienna times, but I know many of you are coming from different places, and so I can give you a link if you need that, help you adjust the time. So, and you'll say, but Elizabeth, I see Wednesdays in there. What is that? Yeah, that's this. That's the open office hour. And I'm shifting it back and forth between an earlier time, which is lunchtime in Vienna, which is an easier time for people usually to listen in or interact. And also a later time at 8 p.m., which is about 2 p.m. Eastern time, and yeah, for people in the US or other places. This is flexible. If you have a requested time, if you have a time that works better for you, hey, let me know. We can talk about it. It's still small, we're cozy, and like I said, this is a time for you to help co-create this with me. If there's something specific you need or want, bring it up. Let's talk about it. Now, I'm not gonna, change the whole topic to underwater basket weaving, but I think you know what I mean. Good. So let's see where we are. So we have that. We talked about the time. Inside School and Google Meet. Now, I've already done some video tutorials in the posts inside school, so I don't want to go through that again here. But do read the posts, check them out. I have them pinned in the comments or pinned in the post so you can find your way around school. Also, even on YouTube, there are school tutorials just to figure out the lay of the land. Anytime, contact me, let me know. We can go through this together. Speaking of which, if you have a technical issue, which has happened already, one of you contacted me already. Whenever a technical issue happens, please tell me what happened. Tell me what you expected to happen and take a screenshot. Take a screenshot. The example I got was I couldn't respond to your private message in school. Okay, I'd love to troubleshoot that with you. Let's find a solution. So what happened was I couldn't respond. What you expected to happen, I expect I should be able to respond, and take a screenshot. Does it give you an error message, or is there no space on the phone, in which case it might be a layout issue? Just send me a screenshot so I can help you work through that. All right. So that is the end of my material for today. Now, what I want to say, because this is really important, is you probably don't have a confidence problem. Almost all of us, when we dig down deep, there's something we are confident about. There's something we can do really well, right? And you're like, yeah, I got that. That is my zone. That is my jam. That area, I know my stuff. Like, that is not a problem at all. It's just this new stuff I'm learning, or this more visible stuff, or this more artistic, whatever it is, whatever it is that's outside your comfort zone. But all of us know how to feel confident. At some point, at some time in our lives, we did feel confident. There was something we did and we did it well. We know that feeling. And so what the issue here is, it's not a confidence problem, it's a delivery problem, because you want to deliver the area where you do have confidence with your voice, with your presence, with your clarity and thought leadership. And so that's kind of the key to the Irresistible Academy. It's not a dating app. It's not that kind of irresistible. It's about making your offer, making your expertise irresistible to the people who want it.